Hey, in this lesson I want to go over a few things that will help you coordinate your right and left hand and give you a better feel for the keyboard or the fretboard on the mandolin. I'm a big believer in doing scales and arpeggios if you haven't picked that up yet. And the reason that I feel that way is really two reasons. One is Emery Lester told me one time that the real key to learning to play any plucked instrument where you have a pick and your left hand with frets or not frets, doesn't matter, is that your right and your left hand are doing things in a coordinated manner at the right time relative to each other. So your left hand has to be moving at the right time that your right hand is picking, obviously, or it comes out kind of muffled if your left hand isn't where it's supposed to be at that time. The other thing is Jim Hurst told me one time, he asked me once how often I practiced, and I said, gosh, Jim, I'm playing hours a day. And he said, no, you misunderstand. How often do you practice? And I kind of looked at him quizzically, and he said, you should be going through and doing exercises on a routine basis. He says, and he told me the way he did it is he usually picked out 3 days a week, and it picked out an hour or so each of those 3 days, and he would go through scales and arpeggios and things like that. So I'm a big believer in doing these. So obviously, and I'm going to stick mostly in the key of G. We'll switch over towards the end here because I want you to be able to do these in other keys. But obviously we have that scale, the G2, the 2-octave G scale, and that's certainly good to practice. But it can get boring after a while. So a couple things you can do that'll actually help you quite a bit is to mix it up. And I usually call these circular scales, and I've heard other musicians call them that. But things like so that's one circular scale. 3 up, 1, 2, 3, back to the root, up 4, up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going up 4 steps each time and then back. Except for that first time, it goes up 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So get that in your fingers. And then there's one where you would go up 4 on the first one and then 5 after that. Actually, it's going up 4 each time, including the first time. And what that does is it gets your pick going in the opposite direction from the first one. Work on these, start with them clean, play them cleanly. Pick up your speed. All right, that's two different ones. Let's do a third one. Whoops, I messed up at the end there. That's going up a third, and then back back 1 full step. So up, it's actually up 2 steps, not that, but up 2, and then back 1, up 2, back 1. Let me do it slow and you can hear it. here's another one it starts up one half or a step. And once you get those, that's 4 different types of scales. Once you get them ascending, going higher in pitch, work on them going descending. And then what you can do is you can do an ascending version followed by a descending version. And you don't have to do the same one, or you can do the same one. Maybe something like this. Just work on those. So I didn't go through those note for note, but you should be able to pick out those 4 different scales. One where you go up 3, and then followed by 4 all the way up. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That one, and then you have the one where you start out going up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have the one where you go up by 2 steps, back 1. And then you have the one where you start up a half step. And then the same thing descending. Once you get those down, do them in the key of A. And work those out by ear. All right, that is 8 minutes. I do want to go over one other thing that I want you to try to work on. There is a chordal scale, and I'm going to do it in the key of G. So it's going to go G major to A minor to B minor to C to D to E minor, E F to let's see, to this is actually an F. What is this? It's like an F7. So you have that scale. And then we'll do the F. And then back to the G. But the point is to do this in arpeggios. So I want you to work on this. We'll do 1 octave. There's the first arpeggio. Second one. Third one. Fourth one. Fifth one. Sixth one. Seventh one. And then back to G, an octave higher. And that just helps you, again, learn that left hand and right hand working together, plus the keyboard, the fretboard. And then you can work on a descending. Anyway, work on a descending. And then I want you to go to the key of A. Anyway, that's some things to work on, some scales and arpeggios that will be very, very helpful.